Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this series of numbers that we have at the top. So we have a list of numbers: 7, 9.5, 12, 14.5. What number am I adding? So I'm adding 2.5. That is my pattern. I'm adding 2.5. Adding 2.5. So keeping that pattern, go ahead and find the next four numbers. So what do you get for your next number? So what's 14.5 plus 2.5? 17. And now 17 plus 2.5. 19.5. And then 19.5 here, that looks kind of ugly. Let me fix that. And then 19.5 plus 2.5. 21. Is that 21 or 22? 22. And then 22 plus 2.5. 24.5. All right, so when the difference between each term is always the same number, see how we're always going up by the same number, we call that an arithmetic sequence. Go ahead and fill that in. First, fill in the blank, and then fill in all of the terms within the box. So we're talking about arithmetic sequences today. Arithmetic means that it's always the same number. All right, so in your notes packet, go ahead and fill in the definitions in the side of the box. So this will not be provided to you. You have to know this information for our quiz. We're on unit 12. We skipped all the way to 12. Yeah, so we're starting a new unit. And on the front page of Canvas, it'll be, it's the last button, and it's unit 12, chapter 12. So we are finished with unit 5. That is your last note packet. And that's it. So the formula for an arithmetic sequence, so anytime the difference is always the same, it is going to be T sub n, which is the rule, equals the first number plus the common difference, parentheses, n minus 1. So essentially, you're only filling in these two numbers. You're filling in that number and this number based on the sequence. That's going to change. Those are the two numbers that are going to change. So T1 is the first term. So in this example, my first term was 7. So that's what I would put here, would be a 7. And my common difference, the number I'm adding, is 2.5. N is your term number. All right, any questions so far? All right, so let's go ahead, explain why the following is an arithmetic sequence. So what number am I adding? So I went from 13 to 20, 20 to 27, 27 to 34. So what number am I adding? 7. So this is arithmetic because my common difference is 7. Which means I'm just adding 7. And these are your notes. You can paraphrase them. You don't have to write exactly what I write. All right, for the next one, the numbers are decreasing, which means I'm adding a negative number. So what number am I adding? So I went from 43 to 32, 32 to 21, 21 to 10, a negative 11. So my common difference is, I'm going to see CD is negative 11. So that means I'm adding negative 11. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and get to it. Let's start writing our rules. So going back to, remember, when you write a rule, you're just putting in these two numbers, T1 and D. The first number and the common difference. Everything else stays the same. Whenever it says write a rule, or it'll say find the nth term, this is what they're asking you to do. So for the first one here, my common difference, so I have T sub n equals the first number, which is what? Negative 12. So start off with negative 12 plus, what is my common difference? I went from negative 12 to negative 3, negative 3 to 6, 6 to 15. So what am I adding? 9. And then n minus 1. That is your rule for this particular sequence. So now that you have the rule, so I want to be clear. When you see this sequence, this represents T1. T1 is negative 12. T2 is negative 3. T3 is 6. T4 is 15. Each number is a term. So if I want to know the 17th term, I'm going to use the rule that I created to find the 17th term, because n is 17. So if n equals 17, go ahead and use this formula that you just wrote to find the 17th term. We're going to put a 17 right here. So T17 equals negative 12 plus 9, and then I have a 17 minus 1. Go ahead and type this in your calculator, just like this. And you should get 132. So instead of just adding, I could add 9, because I ended off at the 4th term. If I could add 9 13 more times. But the easier way would be to just use your rule. And that's why it says use the general formula to find the 17th term. All right, so what this is saying is that eventually I'm going to get to 267. What is that term number going to be? So using this formula, now I know that 267 is T sub n. I have to solve it for n. So we're going to put our 267 right here. So 267 equals negative 12 plus 9 n minus 1. So I know we haven't done math in a week, but please know you cannot add these together. That is not mathematically correct. You cannot add these together and say that that's negative 3. You have to add the 12 first, Then to get rid of the 9, you can either divide the 9 or distribute the 9. So I want you all to take about a minute and try to solve this equation for n. See if you can remember how to solve a linear equation. You should not get a decimal. If you get a decimal, you did it wrong. Now, I'm trying to remember what I got. I think I got 32, if I remember back to first period. Anybody else get 32?
Yeah.
All right, let's go through it together. So the first thing I did was I added 12. Which gave me 279 equals 9 times n minus 1. So you have two options at this point. You can distribute the 9. But instead of doing that, I just want to get rid of it. If it's being multiplied, I'm just going to divide it out instead of distributing it. You get the same answer if you do it the other way on the test, or the quiz, I should say. I will not mark it wrong because that's still also mathematically correct to do it that way. But if I divide it out, then I have 31 equals n minus 1. So my last step would be to just add the 1. So 32 equals n. So what that means is that the 32nd number, or T32, in this sequence is 267. That's what we just figured out. We just figured out that the 32nd term in this sequence, in this arithmetic sequence, which starts at -12 and you're adding 9, is 267. If I start off at -12 and I add 9 32 times, I'll be at, or 31 more times, I should say, I'll be at 267. All right, just a couple more questions and then I'm going to show you your Chapter 5 test. Let's go ahead and look at this next one. It says, show that each sequence is arithmetic and find the common difference in the first 4 terms. So they gave us the rule. So I want you to use this rule to find your first 4 terms. So A1 is 2 times 1 minus 5. A2 is 2 times 2 minus 5. A3 is 2 times 3 minus 5. And A4 is 2 times 4 minus 5. So go ahead and find your first 4 numbers and then figure out what number they're adding. So my first four numbers are -3, -1, 1, and 3. Who got that for their first four numbers? All right, so what number am I adding? 2. The common difference is 2. So I want you to look at that rule. All arithmetic sequences are linear. Oops. Wait, okay. All right, so if it's arithmetic, it's a linear equation. All arithmetic sequences are linear. So all arithmetic sequences are linear. And because they're linear, which means you have y equals mx plus b, that means that they all have a slope and a y-intercept. The slope is your common difference. So when you're looking at this equation, you see how it says 2n minus 5? That 2 is your slope. So I knew, without finding my first four terms, I knew just from looking at this equation that because my slope is 2, that my common difference would be 2. The y-intercept represents t sub 0. Okay, so your slope is your common difference. Slope is the common difference. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, go ahead and do that second question by yourself. Using this rule now, find your A1, A2, A3, and A4. So A1 would be 7 minus 3 times 1. 7 minus 3 times 2. All right, go ahead and find your first four terms, and you can probably tell whatever number you're multiplying by your term, that's your common difference. In this example, I'm multiplying by -3. -3 is my slope, so my common difference would be -3. So who got 4, 1, -2, -5 for their first four numbers? And again, what is your common difference? Yep, your common difference is -3. Which is also the same as your slope. Okay, our last question for today is a little different. So it says write a rule, but notice that they did not tell us T1. What did they tell us? T what? T15. Okay, so we have to find T1. That's the first step. That's step number 1 is find T1. So I cannot write my rule with T15. So to find my T1, I'm going to write, let me go ahead and write the formula. You need to have this memorized before our quiz. And let's substitute in all we know. So I know that the 15th number is 2. So I'm going to put the 2 right here. 2 will go here. So 2 goes here. I don't know T1. I know my common difference. What is my common difference? -4. And then N in this example would be what? 15, because 2 is the 15th number. Okay, so let's go ahead and type this in your calculator. This piece right here. What is -4 times 15 minus 1? So then, let me come over here. So then that'll give me 2 equals T1 minus 56. So now the last step to find T1 would be to do what with that -56? The opposite would be to add it. So let's add 56. And you get that T1 is 58. Now that you know your first term, we can write our rule. So our rule will be T sub n equals the first number, which is 58. You can either say plus -4 or -4. It's the same thing. N minus 1. That is your rule. So you have to be able to write the rule. If I give you the common difference and I tell you any of the terms, you should be able to find the first term and write a rule. So now use that rule to find the 5th term. And then that 5th term, that means that n equals 5. So to find the 5th term, and you can actually just type this whole thing in the calculator, just like so. Yep. So let's see what it's. So it's 58 minus 4. So I got 42. Anybody else get 42? All right, good. So that means that the 5th number, keep in mind, so this, if I were to write it out the long way, I'm starting at 58, and my common difference is -4, so that means I'm subtracting 4. So the second number would be 54. Wait, what am I subtracting? Oh, there we go. Sorry. I was about to say, that's not going to give us the right number. 5 numbers. Okay. And then 50. Subtract 4 again. That would be 46. Subtract 4 again, 42. So we just verified that. So if I start at 58, 58 is the first number. The 5th number would be 42. Except we did that using our formula instead of doing it the manual way. All right.